KCRG TV 9's Friday Night Lights, sponsored by Junkie Ford.
Welcome in to another week of Friday Night Lights Overtime. Collin Davies is joining me again this week. I'm Chelsie Brown, and this is a show where we kind of break down some of the highlights in a sense. If you're looking for that fast, upbeat highlight after highlight, make sure you turn into our 10 o'clock newscast. Well, we'll say about 10:15. That is our Friday Night Lights show. We digest the games a little bit, talk about where the teams are sitting, things like that. So why don't we start with just games we did not get to, Collin, and what those scores look like today.
As we take a look, we have Independence. How about that? 37-19 over Crestwood and Waco. 48-7 with a big win there. And Grundy Center 35-7 over Dike New Hartford. And then a big win for Edgewood Colesburg, 64-14 over Key. Mid Prairie getting a shutout in that big win there, and Davenport North with a 28-0 win over Marion. So a couple of shutouts I would catch my eye are those two lower scores. Defenses really came to play in those ones. It didn't seem like we had a lot of shutouts throughout the area tonight.
No, a lot of high-scoring games and a lot of just battle of unbeatens there. But nothing too surprising about the scoreboard. Mid Prairie getting that bounce back. I believe they lost to Alburnett just last week, which Alburnett, good team. So yeah, nothing surprising there. Let's go ahead and get to some of our games in the area. We'll start with Xavier and Clear Creek Amana. Now this one was fun just because this is a battle of unbeatens heading into this, but the Clippers earned their first win against the Saints in 5 meetings just a season ago, and they came out firing. I think they kind of shocked the Saints. I was at this game tonight, and the student section was fired up because, I mean, they got this QB, Collin Pointon, who can do things in the air. He can do things with his legs, as you see right here. They were impressive, but it seemed like the Saints regrouped and started playing Xavier football at this point. Obviously, some explosive plays down the field there. Xavier has their stud of a QB in Cash Parks. Good to see him healthy. A little bit banged up just a season ago. This one just fun though. Xavier, obviously the top team to beat right now in Class 4A. They are the top ranked team. They showed why. They finally had an answer to the Clippers, and they're just very fun to watch. Two very fun teams to watch. A lot of offense. There was over 40 points in the first half.
It's cool to see that you get that 54 points, in week 3 here. It's really a sign that most teams in weeks 1 and 2 would struggle a little bit coming out, but they did not. They seem to be putting everything together. Xavier seems like they're definitely, the team.
And shout out to their kicker there, Vasquez, as I believe his last name. He was, from when I was there, he had 2 crucial field goals and everything. It just seems like they always had an answer once they finally kind of got going after those 2 CCA touchdowns. I'm sure Xavier was thinking about last year's meeting, had a little bit extra fuel.
Revenge.
Yeah, heading into that one. So I think that felt good. But I mean, if you're CCA, this is a game that, yes, you're going to look back on. You're going to want to do things differently, but at the same time, Xavier is a good team, a very good team. They're very well coached as well, and you could see that tonight.
Yeah, it's one of those, you can't get down on it with knowing how good that opponent is.
Absolutely. Up next, do we have Iowa City Liberty?
Absolutely.
Yes, beating Linn-Mar tonight on our KCRG 9.2 game of the week. 33-14, that final there, yes. And this was another step in the right direction if you're Liberty. They're coming off that Southeast Polk win, the 4-time defending state champions. You build off of this in week 3 now, which is good to see. Scott Chandler obviously has his team rolling early in the season. That's good to see. Linn-Mar, there's a lot of new faces. They graduated a huge senior class from last year. They have a brand new coach. So I think it's going to take some time to put these pieces together, but they had some great plays on defense.
And Liberty is a team that kind of always is there, right? Always has a quality team. Linn-Mar is going to be going through a little bit of a rebuilding phase here, but for Liberty, coming off that win last week, this was a big letdown spot. They did not end up getting let down in this one, so impressive to see them come out and put together a win.
Yeah, you always are kind of, it's
Beat the
easy.
four-time
It's easy
defending
to get
state champs,
juiced
right?
up for that game,
Yes.
on the road. But you come back and everything, and it's like, okay, how is the team going to respond? It seemed like they were able to put together a complete game tonight. Then we move on to, is this your game?
Yeah,
Solon, Mount Vernon?
East Marshall and Northland.
Oh, excuse me. Okay. East Marshall and Northland. Our sideline Freddie, John Campbell, was out there tonight, Northland. This was actually their very first home game of the season, but Northland gets the W in this one, and both teams came into this 2-0. So one was going to have to give.
And Northland, we see this is a team that has really come out hot start this season, especially once you get the 3-0, 2-0, you still kind of waiting to see. But it's that first prove it game, and they came out and they did prove it against East Marshall.
Well, no pressure when you're in front of your home crowd for the first time this season. Not that the Lynx fans don't travel well, because they do. But this is, on your home turf. Great stadium. You've never been there yet.
I see the corn in the background there.
And the
Field of Dreams-esque.
I know. We got to get you out there. It is one of my favorite football stadiums. It's
the
very
white picket
pretty.
fence. I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
It's a classic. Great community out there in Northland. And looks like just a great matchup between these two teams. Now are we going to Solon and Mount Vernon?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Solon and Mount Vernon. We talk about two of the top teams
absolutely.
in their class. So, and this one was really about Eli Campman. I mean, going out, and this was my first time seeing him in person. He was unbelievable. He was not only able to throw the ball, but he was also able to go through the air. And Mount Vernon had that explosive play. They got a kick return touchdown in this one, and they're ranked so high.
That's a track star right there.
Absolutely. And you just felt like, okay, maybe Mount Vernon's going to hang around a little bit, but Solon, I mean, look at this spiral. Look at this spiral. Right into the hands of his favorite target, Cade Hooper.
Yes,
and he's been an unbelievable receiver so far this season. Campman was just slinging the football, and he was also able to run the ball. There was a lot of times where he was breaking a ton of tackles in this game, which he hasn't done. If you look at the stats for the previous two games, he hasn't really done. But he's really took it into his own hands today. I mean, look at this. This is a guy that is a gunslinger, and he was going out picking up 20, 30 yards, a pop here, rushing the ball. That was a battle of two very good teams. But my big takeaway was Solon was clearly, there's a gap between the two, and Solon is ahead of Mount Vernon in that category.
I think when you look at this game, too, you mentioned obviously Campman having to use his legs. I think that's because Mount Vernon is a very well-coached team as well. And they were probably, I'm not going to speak for, the rest of Solon's competition, but they probably were one of their tougher defenses to face, which is probably why it forced Campman to, kind of go to that option, right?
It didn't look like it was tough, on offense either for Solon. It looked very easy. Early in the game, Solon just kept on driving down the field, going scoring touchdowns. In fact, I think their second drive of the game or a third drive, they turned the ball over just off of a mishap on a fumble, handoff exchange. Yeah. But other than that, they just kind of had their way there. They were driving up and down the fields. There was no issues. That offense is for real. They've got a running back, they've got a great quarterback, and most importantly, they've got that receiver. And the two of them are pretty much a dynamic duo there in Solon. Yeah. They are the team to beat in that class.
Their chemistry is great, and it's great to see it this early in week 3. But we kind of knew, we had our eye on Campman. He was up for Athlete of the Week, throwing, 5 touchdowns in week 1. Yeah. Everyone
against Haverback, who won it for Mount Vernon,
yes,
right?
and he was also great, too. He had 3 touchdowns through the air, 2 on the ground or whatever week 1.
He got a big hit today. That was something I noticed. He came in, Haverback was playing defense, and he came across the middle on a receiver and popped.
Oh, yeah. Of course he plays both ways. Yeah, these are athletes.
He can hit, too. He's a great quarterback, but he can hit on defense, too. But Solon really came out, really impressed me.
Yeah. Both of these teams are going to be fun to watch moving forward. But
big
3A,
rivalry game, too.
Yeah, 3A, especially in Eastern Iowa, there are so many good competitive teams. Speaking of 3A, one of the last games we went to tonight up in Dubuque, that was Wahlert, the Class 3A defending state champions. They were on a 15-game winning streak coming into this one, but this was a battle of unbeatens as well between Decorah, which Decorah so far this season, they have just come out blazing. I wanted to read to you. The Vikings had outscored their opponents 91-22 to start the season. So they're averaging like 40 points a game right now. Obviously, you're not going to do that against a Waller team. But at the same time, this one went to OT. It just seemed like it kind of had that postseason hype to it. This was a great matchup to have week 3. It just seemed like a fun one. And things were kind of going, I guess we're going back and forth in this one, you can see.
A lot of turnovers in this one, too, right? Quite a bit of turnovers. And that's kind of what you see from that you mentioned, kind of being a postseason feel. Was it a shootout like that Mount Vernon saw in those offenses? This one was very hard-nosed, and both these teams were tested in ways that they might not be for the rest of the regular season.
Right, but these are also 2 really good teams that I can't wait to see what they do for the rest of the season. Shout out to our Dubuque photog, Henry Powers, for getting those highlights. I know he had fun at that one tonight, and then when he saw the final score, he was kind of like,
that's a cool stadium, too. It was something I noticed that it kind of drops off on the one side.
Yes, the Rock
very
Bowl.
Cool.
The Rock Bowl. It's Loris's Rock Bowl. It's very, very pretty as well. Well, let's get to college games before we let you go. Let's start with the one just down the road in Iowa City. Obviously, Iowa, UMass. We're not expecting a very close game, I'll say it.
Hopefully, right?
Right, but who knows at this point. The biggest thing I think right now is a lot of eyes are on Iowa's offense.
Yes, and specifically Mark Gronowski in the passing offense, because I think there's a lot of injuries for UMass coming into this one. So I think it's not really a matter of if they're going to win. It's how they're going to win.
Yeah.
And for me, this is kind of almost the make it or break it game to for the fans too, though, say, like, let's see something from this offense. There was so much talk in the offseason, but early the passing offense just hasn't been there, right? It's been historically not good for Big Ten offense. So if they can get, I believe it was only 48 passing yards as an offense total against Albany. So I think they really want to come out and show the fans at Kinnick that I think Gronowski's 150 passing yards, right? Is that too crazy to ask for?
No, I don't think so.
But it feels like, right?
Maybe right now.
Yes, right now. And that's where they have to go out and make it not seem, that shouldn't feel like, kind of out there, but it feels like it at this point.
It does. It kind of feels like they're trying to prove it, maybe, and maybe they'll try and kind of pull some things out that they've been working on in practice this week and really show off what this passing game could do. Obviously, though, they're hurting. Kamari Moulton out, Addison Estrenga out now for the season, and then Reese Vandersee's still not out. He was obviously one of Iowa's top targets for wideout. So the offense, unfortunately, has a lot of injuries right now. So that is obviously kind of not helping the chemistry for Gronowski.
And he played better last week, right? He seemed settled in.
Yeah, a lot more settled, especially in an environment like Jack Trice Stadium in Ames, so that's good. He'll obviously have a home team crowd, behind him, so I think that'll change things. I've heard a lot of talk in the newsroom. They think Iowa's going over 40. Score prediction.
Ooh, I don't know. I think 31-0. I don't think Albany. UMass, with the injuries that they have, I don't think UMass is going to be putting up any points. Maybe they put up a field goal, but I think defensively has been clicking. That's the other thing I think the defense really needs to see for Iowa is they want to create a turnover. There's only one turnover that Iowa has created so far this season. That was the muff punt in the Cyhawk game. So I think that's something that they want to see. They need to be able to get to the quarterback quicker on first and second down and force them in the long distance situations, try to force those.
Yeah, you might see that this week. Who knows? And then on the flip side, Iowa State now 3-0. They're on the road again, Arkansas State.
Who would have guessed? On the road at Arkansas State. Kind of a weird one, right? Yeah.
A little bit. But, I mean, it's one of those things, too, is how can Matt Campbell's group handle this? They're coming off another rivalry game. They're going on the road on a game that they should win. Thoughts about this one?
They should win, right?
Yeah,
I think it's for them. It's just about playing well because they've played well in every single game they've had so far. Even against South Dakota, they really kind of didn't leave much doubt in that one. So I think it's can they kind of impose their will right off the bat? I think it's more, same with obviously Iowa. It's kind of how they win.
Yeah. And I think Rocco Beck has been clicking so well with his offensive weapons. There are so many tight ends that can do, so many great things. And then obviously their running back duo and tandem they've just been doing their jobs and everything. And then their defense took a step this year too. We saw that against Iowa last week.
And their kicker,
oh,
Collin Conrarty.
Thank you for mentioning him,
Yes.
because don't let him get backed up at the 60, because he'll just say, all right, let's go. Let's just do it.
And
right?
he feels no pressure. I remember talking to him in the post game, and he mentioned they grew up. He didn't really like football growing up,
I know.
and now he finds himself as kind of a star as a kicker for ISU.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to add before we go?
No, I'm ready to roll for tomorrow. More football, more football.
More
Football-filled weekend. What can go wrong?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for tuning in this week on our Friday Night Lights Overtime. We will see you next week.